let's talk about this story of nuclear bombs. And this is from CBS, by the way. It's not like it's a blog or somebody that just wrote it for the heck of it. CBS writes this article, okay? And the title reads, nuclear war between U.S. and Russia would kill more than 5 billion people just from starvation, study finds. Even a relatively small nuclear conflict, such as one between India and Pakistan, would be devastating. A week-long nuclear war involving 100 weapons and the release of 5TG, about 11 billion pounds of soot would kill 27 million people directly. The study said after 2 years, the international trade at a halt of 34.7 degrees Fahrenheit temperature drop, the famine it creates would kill 255 million people. Assuming that the rest of the population got the minimum food needed to survive, about 1,999 calories per capita per day, the largest scenario examined a week-long war involving 4,400 weapons, 150 TG, 330.6 billion pounds of soot, such as one that would occur between the U.S., its allies, and Russia would kill 360 million people directly and more than 5 billion people from starvation. And when you hear a story like this, we had Dr. Peter Pry here twice in 1 month. First time we ever did that with a guest. He came in here, we talked about he's one of the leading voices in the world, leading expert voices in the world in weapons of mass destruction, nuclear bombs. He just died a month ago, by the way. Rest in peace. He died a month ago. We had him 4 or 5 months ago. Putin making the prediction on a nuclear weapon that if you do this, we're going to do this. And then U.S. warns Putin of catastrophic consequences if nuclear weapons are used in Ukraine. This is a Reuters story. The U.S. would respond decisively to any Russian use of nuclear weapons against Ukraine and has spelled out to Moscow the catastrophic consequences it would face. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said on Sunday, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, what is the likelihood for any one of you, percentage-wise, what is the likelihood that Putin uses a nuclear weapon against Ukraine at this point? What do you think? What do you think it is?
Let's just hope that it's freaking very low.
Tyler, where are you at with this? What do you think it is?
With Putin using nuclear weapons?
Against Ukraine.
We keep sending Ukraine 50, 60, 70 billion dollars. I think the percentage gets higher and higher and higher every day. Again, we're talking about Iran, right? And the protests in Iran and the people standing up for freedom and actually something that could be pivotal in not only the Middle East but the world, right? If they were to overthrow the government, this could fundamentally reshape the Middle East and the world. Yet we have no concern about it, right? We want to send off 50, 60, 70 billion dollars and sit there and kick Vladimir Putin until he turns around and he punches us. What do you think is going to happen?
Yep.
Like, this is our fault. I think we need to get out of Ukraine. The idea that Ukraine was going to then move, or excuse me, that Russia was then going to move into Poland and totally reform the USSR is absurd. He knows he doesn't have the power to do that. He knows exactly what would happen if he did try to do that. He wanted to take over Ukraine because we kept pushing to put NATO in Ukraine, have Ukraine become a part of NATO, and put the U.S. military and nuclear weapons at his doorstep. And he knows better than that. I think the chances of him using nukes get higher and higher and higher every day. And
is it at 1%? Is it at 5%? Is it at 10%? What do you think?
I don't think it's a full-scale nuclear weapon. I think it's a tactical nuke.
Yeah,
but I think it's at 15%.
But I don't know.
Higher and higher and higher
there's part of what you're saying that I agree with. Like, we're pushing Putin to the edge, and I've been saying this for months now. We got to get this guy an off-ramp. If there's anything that he demands, it's respect. If you're feeling disrespected and you're backed against the wall, you're going to lash out like a scared animal. But I don't agree with you, Tyler, on what is he going to invade Poland? It's like there's a reason that freaking Finland, who has been basically, abstaining from being a part of NATO for 50 years, is like, yeah, we're going to join now because they share a 400-mile border with Russia. So if they can just walk into Ukraine, next thing you know, they're walking into Finland, next thing you know, walking to Poland. These are legitimate concerns from bordering countries. So I do trust that our government knows what they're doing in relation to Ukraine and Russia. That's fine. You can be on the other side of the table. That's good. But I think Anthony Blinken, who's basically running the show over there, is a very competent individual.
That's the joke.
That's great. This is why we're in fucking America. That you can have your
opinion.
You can have your Proud Boy opinion. I can have my Soy Boy opinion. We can meet in the middle. It's all good. But I do think that the world has basically spoken that a madman just can't just walk into other people's countries and redefine borders.
When did he magically become a madman?
Okay.
Why was he not a madman in 2016?
Okay,
He's
so
been I was just
okay,
gonna say.
No,
let's
but-
just say a power hungry guy. Let's just say it like that. I know
Why-
that I know that your side wants to, advocate,
No,
defend
but-
Putin. That's your guy. You kind of have a poster up on
Okay,
his wall.
no.
I
Quit
get
with
it.
the ad hominems.
However,
why do you think he didn't do this in 2016? What was the first thing that Donald Trump wanted to do? He wanted to abolish NATO. What was the point of NATO? Was to keep the USSR in check. Where's the USSR? They haven't existed since Ronald Reagan. The first thing Trump wanted to do was abolish NATO, and that's what kept Vladimir Putin at bay.
Yeah, because if somebody's going to abolish NATO, you're just going to let them do what they want to do. What's the phrase? If your enemy is basically shooting himself in the foot, go ahead and let them shoot themselves in the foot. Of course, if the president of the United States is talking about abandoning NATO, if you're Putin, you're like, have at it. Why do I need to do anything to make this happen? You're going to talk about it doing anyway. And there's a high likelihood that if Trump was reelected, he'd be pushing more and more and more to get out of NATO, right? So I don't agree with this presumption that if Trump was there, then who knows what would have happened with Putin. Putin's basically been calculated this entire time. If there's anything you want to say about Putin, is that he's calculated. So maybe I misspoke about the madman thing, but the guy could turn into a fucking madman if basically we don't give him an off-ramp.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.